Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Welcome to the SIS podcast. My name is Amina. I am the communications manager, and today we are here with my colleagues Rozana Isa, the executive director of Sisters in Islam, Dara Wahida, the legal manager, and Naim, our legal officer. In today's discussion, we will focus on the Mufti bill, which was on July 2nd, 2024. Datuk Muhammad Naim Mokhtar, Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Religious Affairs, tabled the bill for its reading in the Dewan Raya. While initially it may seem like a very straightforward piece of legislation, a deeper look reveals inconsistencies and a disregard for fundamental human rights, especially those protected by our federal constitution. Given the implications, we believe the bill deserves more discussion. All right, so shall we start now? So how is everyone feeling?
Good.
Good. Rosanna, how are you feeling?
Okay,
I know you're very tired, but thank you for coming. Naim?
I'm doing well.
You're doing well. Okay. So the Mufti bill, there has been much ado about the Mufti bill. A lot of discussions are, not a lot, but quite a few organizations have also come out and expressed their concerns towards this bill. So let me start with Rosanna. So can you tell us a bit about this bill?
I would like to start by talking about the context of the bill, because this bill is tabled by the Madani government, but actually the life of the bill, began even before the Madani government became the government of today. It was announced in 2021 by the then Deputy Minister Dato Marzuq Shari that there will be a roadmap to strengthen the Islamic family laws in the Federal Territories by the enactment of 4 new acts and amendments to 7 current laws. The 4 new acts that was announced back then, it was in relation to the RUU Mufti, RUU Wakaf, RUU Mahkamah Syariah, and RUU in relation to the proselytization of religion by non-Muslims to Muslims. And the 7 existing legislations includes also, I think, the Islamic family law, which actually we're much more interested in that. If any reform that needs to happen, actually that should be the law that should have been prioritized. What the public should know about the bill is that, there isn't any consultation with the public before it was tabled. So we have no idea what the provisions are. We had no idea of what the provisions that were included in the bill. And so when we came to know about it, it took some time also for us to digest and to unpack and also to understand the impact of this bill. While at the moment it says that it's limited to those who are in the Federal Territories. But what is important for us to remember, because this is an act that will be passed in Parliament, and therefore it actually has wide-reaching consequences and impact, not only on Muslims in the Federal Territories, but as well as non-Muslims as well.
Dara, so the name Mufti bill itself is very lofty and seems to mean it only is regarding the appointment of the Mufti or Deputy Mufti. However, as we know it is much more. So could you walk us through what really are the legal implications of the bill in context of what Rosanna has just told us?
The word Mufti itself boleh buat orang takut, kan? And the masses have been talking about the sectarianism part of the bill. Yang the Islamists were berbala about the aliran of Al-Ashariah and Al-Maturidiyah. But what people don't know is, apart from that, kita ada beberapa lagi we call it fasal or clauses in the bill itself that actually encroach into our fundamental liberties, constitutional rights, and also the administrative part. For example, fatwa becoming law, and new committees will be formed under the bill, and then how certain unit has become individuals, say like the Akidah, perunding Akidah, which we are not clear about the power of this unit or the individuals. And also the fact that Mufti are given powers to impose fees and to exempt fees charges, and and immunity given to the authorities that were given powers under the bill.
So let me go back to Rosanna on this. Naim, I'll come back to you.
No problem.
Yes. So, Rosanna, how would this bill affect people on the ground, especially what could be in store for women based on what Dara has just said? They are given immunity, they have Akidah consultants, service charging for services, which I assume is public money. So what do you think how would this bill actually affect people on the ground?
Okay, so what we need to take into consideration is that when in the narrative of the bill, when discussed, they only focus on the schools of thought, the criteria for the Mufti bill, or those who are appointed to be Muftis. So the conversation is really not happening around impact. So your question is actually something that people actually don't talk about, and therefore they don't realize what the potential impact would be. So this is a very good question. And your question also homed in on the issue of women. Yeah. So I would like to take an example. So this is a situation I think that happened some weeks ago, where the Mufti of Penang had made a statement that for any situations of companies doing team buildings, for example, that husbands actually have the right to not give permission for the wife to take part in the team building, because it may lead to unwanted situations of fitnah ataupun kalwat dan sebagainya. So it's something that's very vague. And this is, I would like to emphasize that this is just an opinion, that this is not a fatwa, all right? But that particular opinion had warranted, different kinds of conversations about what this would mean then for women who are out there working in the corporate sector. And you will have to attend, to some of these situations, because, it leads towards how, teams work together, and it would impact on the dynamics of the team dan sebagainya lah, yeah.
Especially leadership, women in
especially leadership, yeah. So for want of a better word, I mean, if husbands, take that road where, I want to say something about whether my wife can attend, this team building or not. So it would put, consequences on not only the wife in terms of her own career development, because what happens if she doesn't attend?
Yes.
Or perhaps it has consequences upon companies then who may think that, do I need to organize then separate team buildings, segregated team buildings, satu untuk lelaki ataupun satu untuk perempuan. And already women's participation in the work sphere, it's very challenging for them to either advance in their careers. And some of these things may affect, for example, their potential for further development and promotion, because they have been segregated. When you are segregated, then the group that usually would, shine would be the men. I mean, it's unfortunate that, this has to come back to a gender issue. But at the end of the day, this is the reality. Anything that has to do with public policy, that has to do with public opinion, in a way, does impact on our gender relations, whether in the public sphere or the private sphere.
But to me, this sounds a bit impractical, right? Because I mean, in the workforce, we work with men alongside. I mean, it's not as if we are breaking our. I mean, we're sitting very close to each other. No, but we do work alongside, especially in leadership roles. I mean, we have staff who is male. So how would this really? To me, it seems a bit impractical. I'm not sure. What do you think? Is it?
I think we also have to come to the realization that, we are a nation that is achieving to achieve to be a first world developed nation, right? And therefore, competition is actually crucial, not only within the country, but also within Malaysians and other countries as well. So how would this impact on our overall, the way we are working together, our overall productivity dan sebagainya? And it would affect also in a way how we start interacting with one another, because it's already so challenging for women to get a space in boardrooms, senior management, the C-suites. And if you segregate women in this way, you will actually marginalize them further. So, and what does that mean? That you won't be able to have, women supervisors over a team of men? So because then, one, you're talking about team building, when in reality, kita dah kerjasama dengan satu sama lain in a way that is already quite integrated. And we are all grown-ups. Kita pun tahu batas-batas kita sebagai, as professionals, as Malaysians, as fellow Muslims, respect towards one another. So these are the values that are more critical for us to emphasize instead of putting forth, ideas and policies that want to put, women away. Because eventually this, in the long term, it may affect women's decision to, whether they want to come into the workforce and work with other communities.
I think to me, it sounds like it's limiting women again. As it is, we don't have enough women participation. 50% of the population is women, and we don't have enough participation. So this kind of opinions, to me, feels a bit misguided in that sense, because you are not taking consideration overall the situation, and also limiting women, I feel. Dara, do you want to say something on that? Being a lawyer, what do you think about that?
I mean, we've been advocating for women to be in parliament or in the state legislative, about 30%. And I think this has been the previous opposition manifesto to put more women in the parliament. But if we have these barriers or limitation that been imposed to the women, how are we going to achieve it?
Nak segregate ke women in parliament juga?
Betul.
So Naim, you're the man, I would say the thorn among the roses, or the rose among the thorn. So what do you think about this kind of, opinions, being a man? Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
Thank you very much. I think more of the rose among the thorns, probably.
Okay.
So I think that, being in SIS for a while, I think there are opinions that are being unrepresented. There are lots of struggles. For example, struggles of single mothers. Those are struggles that probably men do not understand. And for me, those are just one example of the many struggles that women may encounter throughout their lives. And the women that represent us in parliament, they are great. But I agree that there should be more representation, because, as you said, Amina, earlier, that half of the population is women, and that the views represented by these women cannot be monotonous or just a single view. So I'm the kind of person to celebrate diversity of views. So I think that more views means more fun.
Okay, but do you think it is limiting to women, this kind of views?
Well, firstly, I think that, as Rosanna said earlier, that the Mufti issued a fatwa saying that, men and women cannot partake in team building exercises.
I have to
it's-
correct you. It's an opinion. It's not a
Oh.
fatwa.
Not yet.
Yes, it's
Okay,
an opinion.
it's not a fatwa yet.
Yes, it's an
Very well.
opinion.
Oh, it's an opinion.
It's an
It
opinion.
could become a fatwa.
we don't know.
no.
Let's yeah.
Yeah, but let me touch on that, because in the current bill, in the current act, fatwa and opinion can be gazetted. Can be
Right.
gazetted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good
Yeah.
point.
I mean, yeah, it's an opinion for now. But what's the difference, anyways, right?
That's true.
Fatwa, opinions. It's a very thin line that we're trying to navigate through, lah. Yeah. So I think, is it restrictive? Definitely, clear cut. It doesn't go any clearer than that. Is that this person is literally saying that married women shouldn't go to team building exercises because of fitna and all that. For me, it limits. It is a bit of an insult to the personal agency of the women. So, for a society that is supposed to be a mature society, that is very. We're in the feminist organization, so I say the word patriarchal lah. Yeah, telling someone to do right. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much. So I'll go back to the bill now.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say this bill is to be passed, Rosanna, in Parliament, and so what do you think the consequences of this bill being passed will be?
Yeah. Just drawing back on the point that Dara made with regards to opinion. The thing is, the muftis, whatever the mufti says, has a lot of weight. So, in fact, I'm sure some people had celebrated the mufti's opinion with regards to this particular team building issue. Nevertheless, that if such a fatwa is issued, furthermore, it is issued in a way where kita tak boleh langgar ataupun kita tak boleh persoal fatwa tu, then the impact of the bill being passed would be very, very significant on the lives of many people, because the bill also talks about, the bill is also read together with the Sharia criminal offences enactment act, because it's federal territories.
Yes.
That's right. Okay. So kalau kita langgar ataupun kalau kita persoalkan fatwa tu di bawah section 12, it is an offence, and then under section 9 it can be charged. You can be charged for defying the fatwa, melanggar fatwa, sama ada either through a jail sentence or a fine, and or both. Yeah, so this is quite a hefty impact, because fatwas, kita banyak fatwa, ya. There are so many fatwas, and at some point or another we may be defying a fatwa or not following a fatwa even without our knowledge, so who is the one enforcing this? And we will be and I guess the whole question is how the fatwas are going to be enforced if this bill is passed in Parliament, and what are our rights as individuals, because Section 9 and Section 12 of the Sharia Criminal Offences Act already says that we cannot even question the fatwa.
So Dara, I'll come back to you a bit. Can you tell us a bit about what is this fatwa? I know Naeem has done a lot of research. He has got some interesting things to share with us. But
Yeah, I think
just explain a bit between the gazetted and non-gazetted fatwa, how it works, and currently, and what the new bill is actually proposing in terms of.
okay. In the existing law, when Mufti feels that certain issue or certain question needed deliberation and become fatwa, he will then consult with the legal consultative
Yes,
committee.
previously legal consultative committee.
It's not previously yet. It's still.
It's still, sorry.
It's still the
Yeah.
legal consultative.
We haven't passed it yet.
Legal
Yeah.
consultative committee.
Committee, yeah.
And then the difference between the fatwas, the fatwas and the ungazetted and gazetted fatwas is the essence of the publication of the gazette. The publication of the fatwa in the gazette.
yeah.
Okay.
So upon publication of the fatwa in the gazette, the fatwa has the force of law.
So basically, right now, what we have, if I'm understanding you correctly, is we have certain fatwas which are not really binding by law, but we have other fatwas which are gazetted, and these are bound by the law. You're supposed.
No, both fatwas are binding,
by law.
but there's a difference between ungazetted and gazetted fatwa. The importance of the fatwa being gazetted is that when a gazetted fatwa, it has force of law, which means defying a gazetted fatwa, can land you
In jail and with a
under the
sentence.
Section 9.
But if it's an ungazetted fatwa, there is no
Because
repercussions in
currently
the-
Sharia Criminal Offence Act define the fatwa that is defining the fatwa that will have the force of law is the gazetted fatwa, according to Section 34 kan.
34, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like
Section
to
34.
So the
add
new
something
bill,
on that.
sorry, the new bill then?
The new bill, it blurs. It only says a fatwa becoming binding on that. There's no
On all Muslims.
there's no
Differentiation.
differentiation between ungazetted and gazetted fatwa that will be binding on the all Muslims in wilayah persekutuan.
Okay, so basically, any fatwas eventually can become
Yes.
binding under this new.
And we are not sure which one, because the Sharia criminal offence still refers to fatwa as gazetted fatwa currently. But when what people don't know, when they move the bill, the Mufti bill, they move simultaneously with an amendment bill to the administration of Islamic law, by the 505 Act. So kalau yang Mufti bill ni pass and that amendment pass, the bahagian 3 which contains the Section 34 tu will be deleted.
And Section 34 is about gazetted and non.
Yes.
Ungazetted.
It's about gazetted
Gazetted
fatwa.
fatwa,
Yes.
yeah.
Refers that the Sharia Criminal Offence Act is referring to.
Okay, so yes, Naeem, sorry.
Yeah, just wanted to add something that Dara said is that a fatwa is a statement, according to Section 34 of the current Act, Administration of Islamic Law Act. Yeah, it says that no statement shall be taken as fatwa unless it is
Gazette.
published in the Gazette. So there's that point there being made that there's something that the Mufti says, but in order for it to become a fatwa, it must be published in the Gazette. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, sounds very confusing and very daunting if you ask me.
Orang ramai semua faham ke? Kita orang pun berminggu-minggu nak faham ni. And they want to push this bill through without a deal.
Minggu-minggu, I
Berbulan-bulan
Yes.
berbulan-bulan
Since
since July.
yeah, sorry,
Yes.
July.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll come back to Dara. One of the things that from day one that I saw this bill, I was very interested to know about is this Akidah consultants. So, I mean, it's a good thing, right? Because to me, we do have existing Akidah consultants currently, if I'm not mistaken.
As Akidah consultation unit.
Okay, we have an Akidah consultation unit existing currently. But I mean, generally, if you look at it, it sounds like a good thing, right? Because if people want to leave Islam and they are there to encourage people not to leave, from a Muslim point of view, it's a good thing, correct? But I'm assuming that they are providing counseling or something to that effect, but it's not very clear from the bill, right? So tell us a bit about this Akidah consultants. Why the sigh?
I may be making an unpopular statement here. So Amina, religion is supposed to be something that we believe in,
Yes.
isn't it?
It's about faith.
Yeah. What kind of akidah is it? If it was being forced on you, isn't it? So the bill will give power to the Mufti to appoint and sack akidah consultants, and power to determine matters relating to akidah consultations. Okay, this is a very vague power, and there's no safeguard. There's no safeguard. There's no check and balance mechanism to safeguard individuals who are being subjected to go to this akidah consultation session. How are you going to be subjected? And are you getting right to be heard against any order to undergo the session? Ada court hearing tak? Because currently under the Akidah Consultation Unit under MAWIP, their power, their main source of power comes from court orders. So, or siapa-siapa yang sukarela to walk in to
So it's a
attend.
voluntary kind of
Yes.
action, yeah.
And then you remember when GISP was invited
Yes.
to attend to the Akidah consultation session. So that is that much that this unit can do without the court order. So the GISB who are these people who are invited to attend this can actually choose to come or not to come.
Yes.
So but with this bill, we don't know how. Is it from the Mufti instruction ke, ataupun from the court order ke, or from the Akidah consultant punya arbitrary decision
Decision. Because they
compel
can, if I'm not mistaken, they can make their own processes, set their own processes, and so
and
on.
then kita tak tahu pun dalam the bill tu it does say what if that the individual decided not to go back to Islam.
Then
Dia
what?
memang dah
Yeah.
tak nak. So what is their right?
Is it like they go to jail or
Yeah.
whatever? It is possible,
Yeah.
right? This kind of situations.
But maybe they are I don't know, maybe kena tahan dekat pusat pemulihan akhlak for how many
So the mechanics are not spelled out at all in the
yeah,
bill. But
maybe
Yeah. Naim.
Naim can explain about that fatwa
Sure, my
yang
pleasure.
ada existing.
Well, did some research for this topic. Yeah. So one of the things that we found out is that I have to make it clear though that this is a fatwa that was published in Kelantan, not Federal Territories, but it talks about.
This is the macam example lah.
Yeah.
Berapa lama?
Yeah, but this is something that was published on the Kelantan Fatwa website, I think, where it says that if a person wishes to renounce Islam, I think the title was Fatwa Berkenaan Keluar Islam secara amnya di Malaysia dan secara khususnya di Kelantan, where it spells out that any person who wishes to renounce Islam may be detained up to 36 months. Yeah. So this 36 months was provided to undergo this sort of consultation. So I guess in a way it provides a sort of insight into what this Akidah consultant or perunding Akidah in Malay.
Not that we
Yeah.
sokong lah kan. That
we
kind of
we don't
thing,
know
but yeah.
we don't know if it's that or another thing because it doesn't say in the bill, but perhaps it is one of those mechanisms. Perhaps that is one of those things that these Akidah consultants may be
empowered to do.
yeah, empowered to do, because under item D, if I'm not mistaken, is to do any other function as directed by the Mufti. Yeah. So it it doesn't have to be spelled out in the act for him to act. Yeah.
In that section, and in that clause also, the sub clause saying that this Akidah consultant may
Provide for his own guideline.
yeah,
They
yes.
may provide their own
Yeah.
procedure.
Yeah.
So it's a bit daunting if you ask me.
Yeah.
But can I be a little bit provocative lah?
Yes.
Because I
Go
think
ahead.
this is a situation where perhaps mungkin ramai akan tanya, jadi apa salahnya? Sebab dekat Malaysia ni mana boleh keluar Islam?
Betul.
Okay. Lagipun JSB tu kan problematik. Jadi apa salahnya kalau kita perketatkan lagi undang-undang supaya mereka boleh dibawa untuk dipersoalkan dan diperbetulkan akidah dan sebagainya.
Yes.
So I think this is a question that we have to expect from the public because they will perhaps not see an issue with this. Kita kan semua nak jadi Muslim dan Muslimah yang baik dan sebagainya.
Yes.
Tetapi I think one of the issues that we are seeing, because we are not just a group that speaks about women's rights, we are also a group that is very very concerned on the issue of human rights. Dan di sinilah ramai yang menyatakan mungkin di luar sana naratifnya kalau Islam tak ada kena-mengena dengan human rights. And I think this is where we want to address the issue of sama ada we want to recognise human rights or not, tapi hakikatnya kita sebagai rakyat Malaysia, kita ada hak, our fundamental liberties, hak asasi kita yang dijamin di bawah perlembagaan persekutuan. And that includes, our personal liberties from Article 5 up to Article 11, 12, 13.
11, 12, 13.
So our conversations and our demands on this hak ni mungkin orang ramai takkan faham because they will feel like tapi tak ada kena-mengena dengan I tak ada niat pun nak leave Islam. So itu terpulang kepada siapa yang berfikiran macam tu lah. I just want to bring to the table that this question of rights is something that people don't really think about much, but this is where we are concerned because when we don't think about it much, then the provisions are going to be left to the devices of the articles in the Mufti. That means very, very few people have the power to determine then, what your rights and to what extent you can pursue your rights. And I think in the long run, this will have a very severe impact on how Islam is being understood and taken in the long term. That Islam is not attractive religion, or at least it's not attractive Muslim in Malaysia lah.
So to me, one of the worries that I have in terms of this about the younger people,
Yeah,
younger generation.
exactly.
Because usually like old people like me, I wouldn't so much question my faith. It is very strong in that sense. But I think younger people do question. When I was younger, I do question my faith. So if a younger person goes to this Akidah consultants and we really no check and balance, we don't know what could be the effect on them. And we
Yes.
are supposed to kind of bills by right, supposed to kind of protect the citizens, the rakyat,
Yeah.
not the lawmakers.
So,
right?
so at the end of the day, I think you can help in this is bila adanya fatwa dan hak kita sebagai rakyat Malaysia under the Federal Constitution, what happens?
Yes,
Bila dia bercanggah.
exactly. Dara, sorry I'm putting you on the spot.
Okay, in order a law become law, it will go through the usual process of legislation, which is you go through parliamentary process or you go to the state legislative process. Debate and then the gazetting from bacaan pertama, bacaan kedua, bacaan ketiga. But in this Mufti bill, when fatwa being recognised as law, without going through this process, it should be recognised in any court. Okay, that will become problem. So when you have the existing law that comes from the parliament of the state legislative assembly and it actually conflicted with the fatwa yang dikeluarkan oleh jawatan kuasa fatwa yang telah whether gazetted or ungazetted tadi tu, which one do we follow? So under the constitution, we should follow yang the existing yang akta yang yang diluluskan di parlimen. Tapi kalau macam Mufti ni diluluskan, so fatwa tu
Boleh diguna pakai.
boleh diguna pakai di mana-mana mahkamah. Dalam existing law tu, mahkamah ada didefinisikan sebagai mahkamah syariah lah. Even though walaupun dia didefinisikan sebagai mahkamah syariah pun ada isu juga, but we are not going to touch on that. But yang dalam bill ni dia tak ada definition. Dia cuma ada definition untuk mahkamah syariah. The word mahkamah tak ada. Mahkamah syariah ada definition.
Oh.
Mahkamah tak ada.
Alright.
The bill.
In the bill.
In the
Okay.
existing law ada. ada.
Ada. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
tapi
That's a
dalam bill ni tak
definition.
ada.
Yeah.
So maybe they will use this and amend the
So,
thing.
if I say this, is this way of making backdoor laws by
Yeah.
unelected officials? Am I
by-
being controversial by saying that?
Yeah.
Unelected
Yeah.
officials making laws without going through the proper legislative
Yeah.
process.
You can say that, but
Can it be construed as that if fatwa is to be binding and you can actually be jailed for not following a fatwa?
yeah.
Isn't that becoming a law made by people who are not
Elected.
Yeah.
elected?
Yeah.
It's
In a way,
in
yeah.
that sense, right?
Yeah. So that will be a something
quite
will create,
confusing.
yeah,
Yes.
confusing.
Jadi kalau fatwa langgar, kita hanya boleh pergi ke mahkamah syariah.
Yeah.
Tapi kalau fatwa boleh diguna pakai dalam mana-mana mahkamah, apa maksudnya? Maksudnya kalau saya pergi mahkamah civil pun, fatwa
Boleh
akan diguna pakai juga.
Boleh
I see.
diguna pakai.
Okay.
Do you remember a case about this lady yang kena prosecute di mahkamah civil kerana menghina agama ke something like that, and lepas dia mengikat jamin, dia ditahan oleh pegawai agama Islam, pegawai Jawi. After
Isn't that
that,
double jeopardy in a way?
yeah, but in a way. Tapi kalau double jeopardy tu, the case has to end first. Either you are convicted or you are dibebaskan.
Okay.
Then, if you are being charged for the same offence, that will be called double jeopardy. But in this case, no. Because belum end lagi.
But she's already charged in the
The
Sharia.
civil court and the
And the
Sharia. But the case didn't proceed in Mahkamah Syariah because they give reason that she has been charged. Yeah.
So it's quite confusing for a Muslim because we can be charged by both systems.
Yeah, correct.
As opposed to non-Muslims who just have one law, one structure to follow and system to follow. But we as Muslims do have quite a bit of burden in that sense. That brings me to my next question, Rosanna. So there's been a lot of conversation, as you pointed out in the beginning, and it's talked about the restriction of intellectual discourse on Islam. So I've been in SIS for a while, and one of the things that we cherish is always discussion, open discussion, and people are allowed to diversity of opinion. So do you think it really will actually restrict? I mean, what do you think personally? What do you think is your?
Personally, kita tak payah cakap pasal intellectual lah, sebab it's also a word that a lot of people don't identify. But let's go to just the whole idea of difference of opinions. And we know that in Islamic legal traditions, that diversity of opinion is inevitable because of situation, time, context, location dan sebagainya. And when we want to talk about differences of opinions, in order to reach an understanding or in order for us to really explore and debate. Now, in Malaysia, there is already a dearth of a culture of debate. To talk about Islam, and this is also evident, when we talk about many issues with regards to women's rights. People tell us, you jangan cakap lah, you don't have the qualifications to talk about Islam. But Islam is also about everyday lived realities. And when our lived realities, we want to make sense of our lived realities. Kenapa benda ni macam ni? Jadi bila kita tidak digalakkan untuk membahaskan sesuatu dengan cara, we have to be critical, in order for us to be really rigorous and robust about our understanding of a particular issue. So if this culture is already dampened at the moment, with this Mufti bill, I think it will narrow further the view that, sekarang ni diversity of opinion is seen as negative. With the Mufti bill, it may reduce the whole idea of diversity of opinion, that there can only be one right view, and any other opinions that is contrary to this one mainstream view is not regarded as different or diverse, but is regarded as wrong. And therefore, that will dampen further our that whole idea of having a rigorous, robust, debate and discussion at the public and, even in closed door levels. Because now people will not feel safe to talk about anything. People will not feel safe to give an opinion that is contrary to a mufti or a religious person. Because even though I'm at the level of still exploring, but just by offering a different opinion, you may be regarded as, you're doing something wrong because you can't debate about it. So, dah lah, fatwa tu, it has weight. It has weight upon Muslims because we are taught, that we should follow, the fatwa. Yet at the end of the day, if it affects us being able to talk about how Muslim women's rights can be better, how Muslim women's rights in law and also in thought and practice can be better, are we going to be penalized for it?
From this bill, looks like it. I'm not sure, but
It's a big question.
big question,
Yeah?
yes.
Yeah. And what more, let's say with regards to more practical things yang baru-baru ni orang cakap pasal isu halal certification. Let's bring in the economic impact. So at that point, nak discuss pun dah tak boleh dah. Okay, and that's at a legal policy level, right? Belum fatwa lagi.
Dara, I know you are a practicing lawyer, right? And I know that you specialize in constitutional law and human rights, correct? So what do you think of this bill? I mean, from what Rosanna has just said, I think it encroaches in our freedom of thought,
Speech, expression,
the
thought.
expression, thought,
Yeah.
everything really, freedom of a lot of things for a Muslim anyway. So what do you think if this bill is passed? What's the future of generations of Malaysians going to be like, and people who live in this country? I mean, I've got 4 sons. I wonder what the future will be like for them.
Yeah, it definitely going to undermining the democratic principle that we are practicing right now. We could be having laws that do not go through the parliamentary and state legislative process. If we let this happen, we can no longer call ourselves a democracy.
And tak payah pergi, tak payah ada elections, tak payah vote, tak payah
Yeah.
apalah.
Autocratic.
And Muslims are subjected to 2 legal system, as you know. And there's no question or issue about double jeopardy lagi yang tadi yang you tunjuk tadi, double jeopardy. But it's more of double whammy for us. Sebab tadi Amina ada cakap pasal double jeopardy tu, maksudnya perbicaraan yang berulang. Tapi kalau perbicaraan berulang tu, dia dah disabitkan ataupun belum ataupun dibebaskan, jadi dituduh semula dengan kesalahan yang sama. Tapi masalahnya kalau dalam situasi ni, ini bukan lagi soal double jeopardy tadi, perbicaraan berulang. Tapi looks like it kita akan terpukul 2 kali daripada 2 sistem ni.
But I mean, to be fair, Malaysia, we have always had 2 systems for Muslims.
That's right, yeah.
So it is not something so extraordinary if you ask me, but maybe you can explain a bit why
tapi 2 system, I think the only country that has that 2 system is Malaysia kan?
Tak.
No,
Other countries,
well.
ada 2 systems
Tapi yang
juga.
ada fatwa force of law is just Malaysia
Only
kan?
just Malaysia, yes.
So this is how different our
So-
country from other countries.
My concern is what you said earlier, that we wouldn't have a democratic process anymore. I mean, that to me is worrying, especially for Muslims, the largest population.
Yeah, and
This brings me to what I don't like to mention politicians' names, but somebody, our Prime Minister, when he talked about those who oppose this bill, he said that these people who are opposing the bill might be Islamophobic, have Islamophobic views. So what do you think of this label?
Islamophobic is something very huge words to
No,
label people.
Ya, kita tak boleh macam mana. There has to be this understanding that when we questioning, and in this case we are questioning bill that potentially will impact us, and it's very, very difficult to turn back. Okay, our history when it comes to legal reform is very challenging. It's not without differences of views, opinions, positions, and just take, for example, the citizenship amendment that took place for Malaysian women. It took how many decades, right? Understandably, that is a federal constitution amendment. So, but still, it took a long time. So when we want to, if this bill is passed, it will have very detrimental. I would say there will be many unintended consequences that we do not know about. Right now, the narrative orang hanya berkisah tentang Section 3 ataupun Section 4 dan sebagainya. But nobody is looking at the impact of this bill on our rights as a Malaysian citizen. And so, if we are being critical about the bill, we're not being critical for no reason, right? And if this is a public law and public policy, and if we are going to be talking about it and saying that, if there are views saying that, you're opposing it. I mean, I don't think we're even, we're at the point where apa bil ni sebenarnya dan bagaimana ia akan menjejaskan hidup saya hari kesehari sebagai seorang Muslim di wilayah persekutuan, right? And I think to call that as being Islamophobic, come on lah, please.
Wow.
Relax, relax.
I baru ingat apa yang nak cakap.
Oh, yes.
And we are leaving the power to make law without going to the parliamentary process and the state legislative process to people, to committee, to individuals that are not elected.
Unknown figures in that sense. We don't know who,
Yeah.
where, what,
Yeah.
and what are their qualifications.
You see, and you see, at least when it comes to MPs, you as the voter have a right to go to your MP and say, I voted you in, and you need to take into account my voice and take into account my interests. And MP sekarang ni, mana MP yang tak turun padang dan menjaga konstituensi dia? Right? So there is an interaction between the MP dengan the people, his or her constituency, the rakyat. You don't see that this mechanism does not exist, because if you want to even say, can I raise a question because I don't agree with you? You can't even do that. Then how?
Where do you go? Actually? Where do you go? If I don't agree if I don't agree, I end up in jail and fined.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
But if I really thought it's something against my principles, where do I actually question? I mean, the whole idea of fatwa is we have a question, we go to the religious person or expert, and then they are supposed to give an opinion so that I can be not so confused anymore, or I have an idea. That's the whole concept of fatwa. So now we don't even know how it's going to be made, who is making it, and where and what. And like you said, Naeem, I want to ask you, bringing me to your question, you have done a lot of what you call research on fatwas, right? So can you tell me any fatwas that we should be concerned about, or any interesting fatwas you came across that people should know about?
Interesting. Depends on the people, yeah. So there's a bunch of fatwas on a bunch of issues. So one of the things that probably want to point out is that maybe not a lot of people know, but back then, Morocco, smoking is haram according to a fatwa. So similarly, it goes for smoking vape, e-cigarettes. Yeah. So there's a gazetted fatwa in the Federal Territories that says that smoking vape is haram according to a fatwa. Why do I bring this up? I think a lot of people, Muslims, not just partake in smoking vape, but also rely on it on an economic basis. What I mean is that banyak kedai vape orang yang punyanya orang kita, orang Islam. And I'm not saying that it should be halal. That's not my place to say. But the ramifications from this is that, okay, if you sell or if you smoke vape, then you are going against a fatwa. And by that virtue, because the Sharia criminal offences makes it an offence that you cannot go against a fatwa, so you may be liable for punishment. So I just want to take it to a place where this is the change that they're going to make. Previously, under the current law, we have an exception. So under Section 34, subsection 3, if I'm not mistaken, it says that unless that person has reasons under Hukum Syara to depart from the fatwa, he is allowed to do so. But under this Mufti bill, under Section 11, it doesn't talk about, or in fact, anywhere in the Mufti bill, it doesn't talk about any sort of exceptions. So this becomes very, in a sense, absolute.
How are they going to enforce it? That would be interesting to
Yes.
see.
How
I
are
mean,
you going to enforce it?
there-
Not just that. Do the people know or not that defying fatwa is an offence?
Yes.
This vape fatwa ni under Federal Territory ke?
Correct. It is under
Gazetted?
Federal Territories. Yeah.
Gazetted?
Yeah.
Gazetted?
Yeah, gazetted.
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 Wow. Okay.
Yes. So, okay, we are running out of time. I know there's a lot of issues. I mean, from what we have talked about, there's a lot of. So, Rosanna, I just want to ask you. I mean, SIS has been quite vocal in regards to this bill, and so could you please tell us, in a nutshell, maybe, what is the issue at heart here? Why should ordinary people like me, who is not so familiar with everything, why would we care about it? Why would our viewers want to care about this bill?
This will probably be a big ask of the rakyat lah, ya. Tapi apa yang kita perlu tahu sebagai rakyat Malaysia, kita ada hak dan kita hidup di Malaysia ni dalam demokrasi yang berperlembagaan. So there is a process going on for 60, how many years
60
kita
years
merdeka?
kita.
Kita merdeka. So kita ada hak sebagai rakyat Malaysia to exercise our right as a citizen of Malaysia. With the Mufti bill, where are our rights as citizens? If, orang akan cakap, kalau you jadi Muslim yang baik, sebenarnya you tak ada masalah kan? You jadi je lah Muslim baik. Then none of these laws, you have to worry about. Nice to say that lah, but a bit arrogant also. Sebab kita ni manusia, tak ada masa yang kita tak buat dosa. Okay? We are always, as Muslims, we are always in this situation of trying to figure out life. Having to figure out life entails us having to interact with other people, live with other people, transact economically with other people. And if you limit us, to even be able to do this, jadi kita nak hidup bagaimana sebenarnya?
Actually, I want to add, because Malaysia is known for a diverse nation.
Yes.
Or a nation that is pluralistic.
Multi-religious, multiracial.
Yes. So,
And in fact, we are attracting, I see on TikTok and Threads, we are actually attracting a lot of foreigners as
Yes.
well. And actually this, I want to say that actually this bill doesn't exempt foreigners from also
Yes.
being charged, yeah?
yes, it's all Muslims.
If you
The
violate,
Muslims.
all
as
Muslims,
long as they are Muslims
Muslim and in the federal
in the
territory.
Federal Territories, if you violate the fatwa, you can be
Yes,
charged.
you can
Yeah.
be charged. So
Well,
it's a
yeah.
bit daunting for me. So, okay, thank you very much to Rosanna, to Dara and Naim. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Amina.
You're most welcome. So as we wrap up this podcast, we urge for you to speak up, those of you watching. And if you have concerns about the Mufti bill, it's crucial that your voice is heard in Parliament. They are supposed to vote for this bill in this current sitting, but we are not sure
Yeah.
when exactly.
Engage with your
Yeah.
MPs.
Engage with your MPs, especially as the debate continues. And so make sure to send an email to your local MPs so they can be your voice. To make it easier, actually, we have actually prepared an email template in English and Malay for you, where you could just add in your details and send it to your MPs. So you can head to our social media platforms. All SIS, Sisters in Islam social media platforms have and you can have access to the templates and do your part today. I think it is very important we as citizens make our voices heard if we don't agree with whatever is going on. Thank you everyone for listening, and that's a wrap, I guess.